Hey, welcome to today's edition of Sunday Over Easy. I'm Tommy, and I wanted to talk about smiling just a little bit to start off with. And when you smile, you ever have like a friend and you're just like so thankful to have them because they make you laugh sometimes, especially laugh at yourself when you're stressed out or something. And smiling, when we smile, the muscles that allow us to smile have an effect on the brain. They cause the brain to release neuropeptides, which are various compounds, but one of those compounds is dopamine, and dopamine is feel good. It makes us feel good. It gives us a sense of everything's okay. And it activates the the autonomic nervous system, and especially the parasympathetic nervous system helps us just feel relaxed, feel comfortable, feel safe and stuff. So it's kind of interesting when you kind of look at certain things we kind of take for granted, but we don't realize there's actually a deep meaning to, especially in science and psychology and stuff, that makes things more evident than we kind of think of. I wanted to talk a little bit about neurons and how they communicate, and neurons are kind of like a rocket or something. People think like it's the technology. It's so difficult. It's not. It's pretty simple if you just look at it. Like basic neural anatomy is a nucleus in the center, and then around that there's a body, and then there's kind of I kind of think of it as an octopus. It has a flat octopus with these kind of things that come off the edge of it that are called axons and dendrites. And the axons and dendrites receive and both give communication and receive communication. They're kind of synonymous with how the arteries and the veins work in the body. One's bringing oxygen, deoxygenated blood to the lungs, and the veins are carrying deoxygenated blood to the lungs, and the arteries are carrying deoxygenated blood to the body. So there's kind of this yin and yang, and like in plants there's a xylem and a phloem, and they do the same thing. They carry nutrients to the leaves, to the roots. Roots, have a xylem and a phloem inside them, so they carry the nutrients and the water and stuff, and then the leaves excrete carbon dioxide and stuff. So there's a kind of like give and take. It's kind of innate in nature, in our own anatomy, that there's this give and take. And so like in order to receive, we got to give, that kind of metaphor in spiritual axioms and stuff, but it kind of goes to our essence, that give and receive part. So I talked about those dendrites and the axons, and they're the kind of the tentacles that come off of the cell body. And in order for them, they communicate with other cells. There's a space between the axon and the dendrite, a little space. It's called the synapse. In order for the information to transfer both to and for them to receive it, there's things called neurotransmitters that need to be present to help that information jump over that synapse or whatever stuff. And so that's kind of the essence of neurotransmitters. And given the mind, the ability to have an abundance of those helps us think better. When we're kind of stressed out, we're fatigued and stuff like that. A lot of that has to do with the neural anatomy and the ability for the cells to communicate with one another and stuff. So I wanted to talk about like that kind of give and take, and stuff. You kind of think about with our ego, and how our ego sometimes, you can notice it in other people. It's not easy to notice it in ourselves because our ego often placates itself. So we kind of think in a way to justify how our ego acts. So for us to kind of self-evaluate ourselves, we're usually the most incompetent person to judge ourselves. That's why we need friends to give us information, psychologists, therapists, and people to talk to kind of give us feedback and to be willing to accept constructive criticism. Because usually if somebody gives us say, hey, you know what, man, you're really kind of selfish. Did you ever think of anybody else but yourself? When somebody kind of comes at us like that with something, we usually get defensive, and we don't take it in a complimentary way. We kind of feel insulted, and we kind of we ignore it. And so usually we got to pay somebody to insult us before we'll take it rationally. We got to pay somebody money, personal trainer. You got to hire somebody to tell you, hey, you know what? Will you stop eating that stuff? You're not doing yourself good. You kind of, and normally somebody else tells us that in lunchroom. He goes, hey, you really should eat that if you're trying to lose weight. We kind of like, who do you think you are telling me that? So basically, the way our ego works, it has a very self-protective aspect to it, and so often the people that kind of give us sometimes the best input are the ones that don't like us too much, because they're kind of willing to tell us really what we're not looking at or we're not ready to hear. And so, I try to remember that sometimes when I feel somebody's insulted me. I say, what, is there any truth to what they're telling me? Is that something, I feel insulted right now, yeah, and stuff, and I have to deal with that. But let me take a look at it and see, is there something that I could really, learn from this situation? And it's a hard pill to swallow. I hate even saying it because, man, when it comes back at me, I'm like, oh, man, I don't know if I could swallow that pill today, Anyway, so I kind of look at that ego and stuff. I always, in my 20s and 30s, I always wanted my cup full. I could never have enough. I always just wanted more and more and more. And now as I kind of get older and I kind of look at life and stuff, I realize that, man, if my cup is half full, I always have some to give and I have room to receive, And it kind of is amazing when you kind of start looking at life in that way. Say, you know what, can I give something or should I be receiving? When somebody's talking to me, do I want to be the know-it-all? Do I want to be the full cup that I can't take anything in? Or would I rather be half full? So maybe I could take some information from them and I could give some too, if there's something I could give, and trying to look at how I interact with people in that way sometimes makes me realize, man, my ego sometimes really hurts me, and so I think for a lot of us, we want to blame the other people in life or circumstances, situations, but it's not really till we start turning that around and stop, myself included. I'm not above this, so don't get me wrong, but if I'm playing the victim, and I'm granted sometimes things happen and you are subsequently victimized, but we got to figure out how to turn that, even if we are victimized, we got to figure out how to turn that around so that we can learn from it, so that we can grow from it. So, whatever that adage, whatever it doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Man, that's not a sense of, of arrogance. That's a sense of, of internalization and becoming aware of situations and circumstances and how to respond to them instead of maybe react, because a lot of us, including myself, react in the wrong way. And kind of the conditions that our midbrain or limbic system is constructed with is very self-defensive. So, some of those bad things we learned, that, our parents inadvertently taught us to be selfish in ways that we don't really, want to look at. But trying to look at it that way is kind of, just opening the door that a closet that we kind of ignore and stuff. So I wanted to go back into in the Bible, in Genesis, and it talks about how the Lord spoke reality into existence. Well, if we think of speak of that in a divine proverb, we might think about that as a way of our mind to have a direct path of thought from its base to its neocortex. And I don't mean to get complicated with that, but our base of our brain is kind of this incredible intelligence that can relate to nature, the pons, medulla oblongata, the brain stem. It has just an abundance of information that it processes how the outside affects the inside of our body. So this intelligence is just profound. And then there's our midbrain, our limbic system, and also the cerebellum, midbrain and the limbic system, that are kind of, there's too many things to explain, but they control a lot of our subconscious thoughts of kind of, the way that we respond to situations, intimacy, the way when somebody says hello, or the way when somebody says, screw you, how we react to that, how we think, no, well, that wasn't really nice to say, or how dare you say that to me? Those kind of responses, those innate responses that we have to those things are basically built into our limbic system, and we learn those paradigms of thinking. We develop neural pathways in our limbic system from observing how our mentors, our peers, our parents acted, and we unconsciously store that information, and subsequently as an adult we replay that. So if we want to communicate, from have this even flow in our mind, and a lot of self-help dialogue, a lot of people, law of attraction, a lot of these kind of spirituality axioms, if you think about them in an anatomical way, you could kind of see how, the law of attraction is often thwarted by our subconscious dialogue, by the things we unconsciously tell ourselves. I'm not good enough, I feel inferior, I don't live up to my expectations, people don't like me, I'm this, I'm that, I'm skinny, I'm this. Our subconscious dialogue often counteracts our conscious dialogue. So we may say, I really want this, I really want to lose weight, but unconsciously we contradict that all the time. So if you think about our dialogue is talking to this God, this Allah, this incredible intelligence, well, we kind of have a fractured dialogue. So the way that we respond to that is often an aspect, if you think about this in an anatomical way, of the limbic system or the midbrain, and how those paradigms of thought are developed. There's neural pathways that run through the limbic system and extend into the neocortex. So the paradigm of kind of realizing that there's a subconscious part of our brain, and then the conscious, like this neocortex, this outer aspect of our brain that's in humans, allows us to think, allows us to, birds don't have that ability with the neocortex. Their limbic system, their midbrain, their instincts tell them when to fly north, when to fly south. We're not governed by that. We can actually make decisions, and so trying to see that in a spiritual act and say, you know what, how am I praying right now with fear? Am I praying, or do I really believe it from the base of my brain to my limb, God is going to take care of this. I know there's something in this. I know these problems that I'm experiencing. I really believe that there's something to this. And you have this type of dialogue. That's that kind of like, if you think about, Genesis, God said in Genesis, there is earth, there is water. He gave these, and as he spoke, it happened, right? So if father like son, if there's this relationship between us, where we're supposed to, a kid is supposed to emulate his dad and stuff, our ability to manifest the life that we want to live is a lot like that same paradigm, and seeing the broken in our innate nature, seeing our broken in the fact that we do have this inability to have this perfect dialogue. By recognizing that broken, it helps us to learn how to overcome it, how to deal with it, or how to accept it, So recognizing the chatter of how our conscious and subconscious often distract the path in our thinking can give us a visual on how our troubled thinking can affect our ability to communicate to a divine presence that manifests reality. So having a want or faith in itself is not alone the answer. I can want to be thin. I can want to, be a millionaire. I can want all these things. I can want to have a great marriage. But I need to act. Faith without works is dead, right? So what's the works part of that, So faith without works is dead. So we might think of that work as a desire and a willingness to calm that clutter of our mind, so our faith can speak to an intelligence of God, Allah, or whatever you call that intelligence, and hear it and subsequently manifest it. So have this direct plane of communication, and you don't have to think about that if you're atheist or agnostic and stuff. This kind of, I'm not anything, but just think in a rational mind. I want to have this consistency, this continuity of thought that I embody in my life is who I am, and so prayer and meditation can take on new insight into this mindset, as if we pray or spoke, God spoke reality into existence with a clear mind. Then we enable our intention to manifest. Meditation then can be thought of as a way to calm our mind so we can speak our desired reality into a physical reality. And speak is not so much, hey, I want this, but speak is, how do we go about the day? How is our subconscious acting a lot? In times, are we feeling thankful? Do I feel appreciative of all the things that benefit my life? Do I recognize there's so much abundance in my life, even though things are going wrong on a bad day? I think for me, one of the best things that I can do is consciously say on a bad day, consciously say to myself, you know what? So what? It's a bad day. Make it a good day. Make it a good day. What do I need to make it a good day? Maybe I need to say hello to somebody I don't want to say hello to. You know what I'm saying? It's usually doing the things that I don't want to do that's going to make it a good day, So recognizing there's things that I can do that I don't want to do that could turn the way I'm thinking around. So just as God needs a son to see him, or a father wants his child to emulate him, or non-duality needs duality to experience reality, or one cannot be without two, so too are we called upon to spoke, our reality into existence. So whether we worship God, practice principles of no mind, meditate, or believe in an omnipotent intelligence that resonates everything, we need to do the work to allow our thoughts to be as perfect as those that created existence. And just as the two cannot be one, or the son cannot be the father, we too are broken in that awareness of not being perfect. But it's because of our broken that we perceive it and acknowledge its perfection. If we weren't broken, then we wouldn't need anything. Then we would be whatever God is, But the fact that we are broken, we can acknowledge this perfection, this energy, this intelligence that encompasses everything, And I don't want to get too far out there on stuff, but just recognize that there is an analogous in religion, in science, in psychology, and psychiatry that kind of resonates with a universal axiom. So the specific anatomy in our brain is responsible for much of the clutter or our monkey mind that needs to incessantly think. Becoming aware of ways to heal or calm our midbrain and practice mindfulness so we don't allow our conscious thought to abide by our troubled subconscious thoughts is not easy. Some days we just have bad days, man. It's just like, man, I'm not doing good today. I don't feel good. It's like I say I'm not Tiger Woods. I kind of go out the door and I kind of forget things I do. I'm like, man, I'm not hitting the ball too good today, But but that also goes with, just not being the person that you want to be. Some days we're kind of off key a little bit. We're having a difficult day. We kind of may be short with people, might be obnoxious, So just kind of recognizing that is kind of maybe our limbic system or our subconscious. Our subconscious is hurting us, and it's stronger some days than it is on other days. And the key that I find in that is not letting my conscious, my neocortex, that magnificent thing that allows me to think, to create, to kind of want to be more than I am. That way of thinking is, we're not stuck in mediocrity. We actually, evolve because of that neocortex, because of our ability to not just, want to accept things. We want to make them better. We want to strive to improve, to become more than we are. And so if you think about, how, sometimes we don't need to have this, we don't need to be Einstein. We don't need to have this Mensa mentality. We don't need to understand neurophysics, neuroscience, quantum physics, quantum mechanics, sociology, psychology, theology. We don't need to understand that stuff. It helps though sometimes if somebody points out that stuff and says, what you're doing right now, and the fact that you want to smile, you want to make somebody else smile, it gives some insight into that, give a depth to that. So maybe, you know what, man, I want to do more of that. I want to figure out ways to incorporate that. Or how do I feed my brain? How do I give the garden of my thoughts, the neuropeptides, the fertilizer? What things can I do throughout the day to nourish that, and to be able to learn better, to remember better, to be able to act more harmonious, to be able to create this benevolence about me that I really want to be. I really want to, sometimes, like that fake it till we make it, sometimes we just need to at first start faking it till we make it. And then we start to slowly kind of evolve and develop this mindset. And a lot of that has to do with what's called neuroplasticity, that evolve, that fake it till you make it. First we just need to kind of like force our way through it. But as we start to do it, our mind starts to understand what this kind of, this axiom, this paradigm that this alternate paradigm that we want to think in. Those old neural pathways that we want to change. That thing about being attracted. Why am I always attracted to this person that's going to be, come out nice in the beginning, but then really be mean in the end? Why am I always those types of behaviors are often related to our unconscious or our midbrain or limbic system. So trying to establish new neural pathways is very challenging. It's hard work. That's the hard work. That's the faith without works is dead. So being willing to challenge those processes about us instead of, say, hey, this is just who I am, so screw it, if that works for you, that works for you. But, often that just creates more problems. So a lot of times it's not until the pain or our suffering gets too bad that we're willing to actually do the work that we need to do, that we start asking questions and we start asking other people, we start looking for information, we start reading books, we start going to church, we start listening to pastors, we start doing this. So, I need to start learning ways to develop that, There's a lot of things that we do innately that we don't realize are actually, meditation. Meditation, sometimes people think about, it's like, oh, this Buddha thing or something, or maybe, this real strict form of Christianity, or something. But it's not, man. We meditate in a lot of different ways, and we don't even realize we're doing it. If you go hunting, somebody goes hunting, people like hunting, they kind of get addicted to hunting. I'm not much of a hunter, but I used to be as a kid with some great experiences that I like, just being in the woods. But when you go into the woods and you walk into the woods, there's that aspect of it. You start to, your mind starts to kind of slow down a little bit if you realize when you're in there, well, you can't recognize, you kind of get really calm and peaceful, and this energy of nature, this vibration, this frequency, this quantum physics, this subatomic particles, that we start coming in tune to that. Our brain starts getting into this very nice rhythm and stuff, and I talked about it. I don't want to make it too complicated, but there's this thing with lateral eye movements that I talked previously in an article I posted on Facebook this week about how those lateral eye movements actually affect the amygdala in our brain. And so when when things pass us, we have forward movement and we see things go past us laterally, it kind of relates to our primal origins. And so that primal origins was our threat detection is going, we're in that forward movement. It causes the amygdala it suppresses the effects of the amygdala, so that threat detection as we go forward is subdued, and so our mind kind of gets more relaxed or whatever stuff. And you see that in a lot of people. Like, it's kind of tough to be, if you spend a lot of time in the woods hunting, or you're out fishing on a boat, you're just looking at the water and you're kind of seeing how things are coming laterally on your aspect. You kind of get this peace about you and stuff, and that's one of the processes of how that meditation affects the brain. So maybe learning, right, what we're talking about now, how to tune up our various forms of meditation. Maybe there's things that I can do that I didn't realize, and the things I really enjoy doing that are actually meditations. That I think I didn't realize I was meditating, but I am meditating. So maybe there's ways in that form of meditation to actually work on developing some more benevolent natures about it, some ways of kind of, maybe dealing with the problems that we're experiencing in life. EMDR in psychology is a way of kind of dealing with, it talks about how to deal with PTSD issues and past trauma experiences and stuff, and how you kind of, when you bring them to the surface and you allow EMDR or this lateral eye movement or different techniques to kind of suppress that, but you put in new experiences that are rewarding, that are fulfilling, that are the things that you really want in your life. So you kind of, you're bringing to mind the old neural pathway and you're replacing it with a new neural pathway. You're experiencing a neuroplasticity, experiencing a growth, and so you're kind of rewriting that original neurogenesis. Many times in our life, myself included, we feel trapped or a victim to people or circumstances, and we never turn that projection of being a victim around. We see what's outside us as the problem, that outward consequence we think in often defines us. Because of this, I'm that. Because of this person, I'm this. Because they don't like me, I'm a failure. You know what I'm saying? Because this person said I'm fat, I'm fat. Because this person said I'm old. So we kind of, have this thing about where we allow outside consequence to define us. But when we turn that thought process around, when we look inside us, we often discover a world of possibilities. So sometimes, why does that insult us? Why can somebody say this and it doesn't bother me? And why can somebody say this and it does bother me? What's going on? So when we look at it, we say, what? What's happening? What's going on there? Why am I acting that way? What's going on? Then all of a sudden, we start going, and we start seeing this old memories, these things coming across, man, my father used to do this. Oh my God, he used to just mess me up. So we start remembering these past memories and stuff. And then when we do that, if we bring that into meditation, you say, what? We do say we're exercising, and we kind of releasing these endorphins, dopamine, acetylcholine, all these really, or we're watching the sunrise and we're getting this serotonin release, or we're sitting at sunset and just this beautiful sunset on it, and dopamine is being released, and we kind of get this like really nice endorphin kind of good feeling. That's a great place. Those are neuropeptides, neurotransmitters, neuromodulators that can actually help us rewrite those paradigms. So we recognize, man, we kind of think about the day as the sunset or the sunrise, we're on the treadmill or we're kind of working out. We say, going for a jog or going for a walk, and we say, I've been having problems with this lately. This is kind of really bothering me, the way that this is going on. I really don't want to do that. And I can actually see where this is coming from inside me now that I kind of look at it, So maybe I got to forgive somebody. Maybe I got to forgive somebody who really did me wrong. Maybe I got to forgive my father. Maybe I got to forgive my mother. Maybe I got to forgive my sister or my brother. Maybe I got to say, and that forgiveness is not for them. If you actually told them, say, hey man, I forgive you for that. It's okay. Then maybe that might take something off them. They might not even care though. They might, I don't really, okay, well, I'm glad you forgive me, but it doesn't really mean anything, But what it does for us is it lets us let go of some of those old paradigms. Say, you know what, man, I forgive you. And actually, when you actually do that from your heart, you get a good feeling. You're like, body just released neuropeptides. Your brain just kind of releases good feelings. You say, man, I really like this. This is the kind of person I want to be. I want to have compassion. You know what I'm saying? I want to be this person, And so that kind of state of neuroplasticity is taking place when you do that. So I do extensive research. Dr. Huberman, in my article earlier on Facebook and stuff, you can find him on YouTube. The guy is a neuroscientist. I think he did his residency at Stanford University. Very intelligent man. I think he's an ophthalmologist, and then he went into neuroscience. But it's fascinating, So I listen to him. I got some of my information from him. I do extensive research though on everything. So I kind of take certain things and I kind of put them all together, and I try to connect my own dots, But just like he's giving me insight into this specific article, I incorporate other academia in my own experience, strength, and hope into my writing or talks. I encourage you to do your own research. I include Huberman in them, man. Do some video talks and stuff. Say, so you're having a tough time with stress. You're having a tough time with it. Just YouTube Huberman and say, Huberman anxiety. Huberman, fear. And he'll give you some really good input into how to deal with that. I'm starting a new audio and visual format soon. I got some professional help that's going to really help me kind of like maybe tune it up a little bit. I really am a kind of novice on this, and my learning curve is at the bottom right now, but I hope to really, over time kind of improve it. I do that kind of with everything. I think, sometimes failing or not doing my best at something, I try to remember that that's part of growth, And on a personal note regarding the depth of looking into, when you look into our mind, we start examining how our mind works, how our mind thinks, how we experience consciousness. What is consciousness? We start asking ourselves those questions. When we start investigating the brain and the anatomy of the brain, and how that relates to our consciousness, how that relates to how we think. For me, man, it makes me realize the more I know, the more I realize I don't know. Which is just, and that makes me feel so good sometimes. It's like, man, I don't want to be a know-it-all. I don't want to be the person that knows everything, because then my cup is full, and I don't want a full cup. I want a half cup, man. I want to be able to give some information to somebody, but I also want to accept that a lot of people can give me information. There's a quote, an adage that I hear a lot, but it talks about fail forward. I love that idea of fail forward. How do you fail forward, though? I'm saying? That's what I used to have. So fail forward. How do I do that? Well, fail forward, if you think about that, Einstein has this quote that goes, if you set your goals for something you can achieve, you haven't set them high enough. So if you fail at something you can do, you kind of fell backwards. You know what I'm saying? You're actually kind of probably lazy. You didn't put your effort in. You did a lot of things. There's a reason why you didn't do it. It's up to you, But if you try to do something that you don't know if you can do, it's kind of beyond your limits, right? And you try your best, sure, and you still fail at it. You fail forward because you've learned so much about yourself. You've opened doors that were never there, and you might see the situation, and it might not happen right away. You might get this, feeling of depression, but just let it linger, let it hang out. And as time goes by, it might be 6 months, it might be a week, it might be a year later. You're gonna be like, man, wow, because of this, this happened. So because of that, I can do this now and stuff like that. So it'll come to you. I find, things that, I sometimes really, it just burn me a little bit. If I let go of it and I kind of give it a chance to grow, it's amazing what it can grow over time. So, when I say let's make today a good day, that's not my quote. Somebody I heard in a meeting I used to go to on Sundays in the morning used to say it all the time at the end of a meeting. He passed away and stuff a while back and stuff. But, it's not make it a good day. It's not something where it's actually, I'm willing to do the work. Faith who that works. I'm willing to do the work today to have faith, to actually create the reality that I want to have, Anyway, I hope my talks help you in any way if you're going through difficult times. If you know somebody else who's going through difficult, by all means, tell them to look at some of my talks, or tell them to look at some of the people that I mentioned in my talks. Depression is a state of consciousness. I know there's chronic depression. I know there's clinical depression, but for myself or whatever stuff, I took. It's okay. Taking medication is psychiatry is part of self-healing or whatever. So sometimes giving the mind a chance through medication or psychiatry to actually, put a little pause in that so I can develop the mental strength I knew. It's like doing exercises. Before you can lift 50 pounds, you got to be able to lift 5 pounds. So sometimes you got to start at 5 pounds. The same thing works with the brain. So sometimes recognizing, man, I can't be perfect, or so you might need some help dealing with depression, or with anxiety, or with fatigue, or things like that. But as you work on that, as you put the faith with that work, as you put that work into place, and you start really trying to figure out ways that I can do it, what action can I take to make today a good day? Eventually, you're going to start being able to, at least in my own story, I've experienced such growth and such rewards from going a little digging a little deeper. That's kind of the title of one of my books. I'm not trying to promote the book. I'm just saying, sometimes we need to dig deep. You know what I'm saying? So I hope my talk helps you, and I hope that you're able to find some help if you're looking for some self-motivation, or some just improve it a little bit, just to make today a good day. It's amazing if you make today a good day, and you make tomorrow a good day, and then you make a week a good day, and you make a month a good day. It's amazing what happens in a year. You're like, oh my God. And it's just one step at a time. MLK, man, you can't get to the top of the stairs unless you take the first step. Just focus on the first step, man. If we focus on the first step each day, it's amazing how fast we can climb. It's like compound interest, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, take care.